Hello, my name is Alex. I'm the guitar player of Cari Cari. We're a band based in Vienna, Austria. It's our first time in the States. We just came off a West Coast run, then we flew to South by to do a few shows, and now an eastern leg of our tour here in Chicago. Haven't had deep dish pizza yet, but I'm excited for it. We're going to Detroit and Boston, Toronto and New York before heading back to Europe and starting in Berlin, where we'll be on tour for another 2 months. So I'm very excited for that. Usually I got a bigger rig, so this is like the small rig here because we're flying. My main guitars are all here. That's a Hofner very thin. It's a German brand. You probably know Hofner for the violin basses that Paul McCartney uses. And actually I won this guitar when I was like 18 or 19 at a band contest that Hofner sponsored. And ever since I've been like a player and collector. So usually I only play Hofner. And this is like made in China or something, so it's like 300 euros, which is like $300 or $250. And they usually make those with humbuckers. And this one is like weirdly with single coils. And I'm a Hofner endorser now, just because I wanted to get another of those guitars because I was afraid, you know, they're called very thin, so they're very fragile. And I'm afraid I'm going to break one when flying. And I kind of just contacted them to say, hey, do you have more of those? Because I can't find them anywhere. And I just want to buy a second one just as a spare. And they were like, no, we don't do very thin with single coils. Which, I don't know, they're like a family-run company. They're not very big. So it's just apparently one guy just decided to do a single coil version. And that's the one they gave away. So, yeah. Meanwhile, I found a second one on Craigslist, actually. And I love it. It's a very good guitar, very defining for my sound. It has this like weird switcher here, this guitar. You know, it's like you can turn on all of them at the same time and switch. I don't really use this one because I actually think that those are single coil bass pickups. So I don't think like that this really sounds like a bridge pickup. It's still like a little muffled. So I really don't use it. And I usually just use the neck pickup and the middle one because it's a little more twangy. If it needs to be a little more twangy, a little more like a neck bridge pickup, I use that one. I usually have it on 100% volume up. Unfortunately, those kind of volume tone plate things just always fall off. That's why it looks like it does. You know, it's a little road worn already. Yeah, and with strings, I'm very straightforward. I just like D'Addario 10 gauge strings. I used to have flat wounds on the other guitar for a while, but stopped doing it because it's fine as it is. I'm not very specific about it. It's in standard tuning, I usually play like, I would say like 60% of my set in drop D. And if it has to go lower, I have the Digitech drop. So I just like can turn it down like another full tone or octave if I want. Yeah, so this is like the cheap one, and like because I couldn't find another one like it, I bought this one off of Craigslist as well, and that's kind of like the German-made version, the very thin special, and it has those diamond mini pickups. So they're kind of like the ones that you'd have in a Firebird, Gibson Firebird. I think in overall this is probably like in the range of a Telecaster, and this kind of like sounds like a Jazzmaster a little bit. But because they're hollow body and a little thicker, I feel like they've got more body and sound a little special. I'm kind of, you know, trying to find my own sound, and I always felt like if I play a Strat or a Tele, it feels like everything has been said. You know, there's nothing to add. So yeah. The other thing that's different here is that it has a kill switch, which I really like. It's nice to go to switch positions. It has an overall volume knob that I use a lot actually to just, you know, sometimes if I do a lot of looping and if I kind of like solo over it or have like another layer of a tone, I just roll it down, and I kind of like always do it with my little finger while playing, which is nice to have it up here, you know, so I can just like play and, you know, do this all the time. And then I have a bit of like a tick, you know, that I always have to check if all of them are on 10. So actually, I think it would be quite good to just kind of like lock them or get rid of them. But this is very helpful because it's a lot of people use like a volume pedal, right, to kind of like turn off the guitar. So it's kind of like my thing that I just like go down and up in between songs. And yeah, so regular 10 gauge strings on it. Used to have flat mounts, don't anymore, because it was, for some songs it was cool, but overall it was a little lacking kind of like bite and aggressiveness. And yeah, I think I'm a little embarrassed. We played a very sweaty gig. We just came from Texas, so all of them are very sweaty. I like to move a lot. I get sweaty, so I'm sorry for that. Usually I should have cleaned up before, but you gotta bear with me. And then I've got this guitar here that I just owned for 1 hour. I just went into a music store. It doesn't have any thing on it. But there are like little holes in there, so maybe it used to be something. I was looking to find a harmony guitar because they're very rare to find in Europe, and if they are, they're quite expensive. So I just thought like maybe buy like a harmony rocket or something, like a semi-acoustic thing. And I tried a few and they all didn't click with me, and this very cheap guitar that I just bought for $300 immediately clicked. You know, it's just like immediately like things come out. It's very surprisingly plays very well. It's set up very well. It plays like an expensive guitar, honestly. It's very cheaply made. You can see that it's just, you know, there's no fancy binding or anything. It's very rough. It looks like a cheap, you know, store guitar, but it sounds great. I guess sometimes, you know, like they probably picked the great wood for this one, and yeah, you just gotta be lucky. It's like when they say, well, I want a pre-CBS guitar because, you know, that's where it's not like, you know, CBS bought Fender and then from one day to the next all the guitars were shit. You know? I just think you gotta be more lucky, and I think I got lucky today. All right, so next up are pedals. I think it looks more again, this is my fly rig, so it's a little condensed. Usually I also have a small stone phaser that I really like. This is a Color Sound wah fuzz, which is very cool. I haven't played wah for a long time, and I kind of thought that the wah is a crybaby, and then I tried it. I didn't like it at all, and then I bought this just because it looks cool. It's from the 70s, and yeah, it's very cool. I do it for that kind of like Neu krautrock King Gizzard kind of a so it's perfect for that. Tuner, the Digitech drop I just use for one song that I just want to get the guitar one full step deeper, and I didn't want to bring an extra guitar that's always tuned that way, so it works very well. That's just a spring reverb pedal by JHS Pedals. Honestly, it's mainly because my old amp always had problems with the spring reverb, so it kind of like would drop out sometimes during the set. So then I had kind of like the backup, and I use it if I need some extra reverb, especially when I'm using amps on the road that I'm, you know, not 100% familiar with the reverb, because I'm very specific on reverbs. This is a Boss delay. I just use it for one song, do like a written picking thing. I think people know it, it's nothing special. Color Sound Power Boost, I think that's the magic sauce of my rig. It's I think it's not the original one. The original ones go for insane prices. It runs on battery. Also another tick of mine, that's why I just plugged it out, because it runs on battery. It kind of like the battery empties when you keep it plugged in, so I was like, oh, I gotta plug it out. So sorry for that. It's just a booster. It just kind of like fattens up the signal. I think it's like using a LA2A compressor or something, or yeah. So it just gives that body that I want, especially because we don't have a bass player on the regular. So sometimes it's kind of like my guitar has to fill the frequency space of the bass. So this helps a lot with it. It's always on. This is actually supposed to be a remake of that pedal, because I wanted to get rid of it because it's so big. It uses battery and it's very inconvenient. So I just looked for different options to get rid of that. So I bought this one, the Special Cranker by Earthquaker Devices, which is supposed to be the same thing, but it's not. It's definitely not. But it's very cool. It sounds like much cleaner and colder in a way, if that makes sense. So I kind of use it as like my next level boost. So if I wanted to get like very fuzzy and distorted, I just like put that on as well, which is very cool. Nanopog is an octaver, again for the songs where I play bass. Well, like I I bought a double-headed guitar to kind of like switch between bass and guitar within songs, but it was just much easier to use the octaver pedal, and so I used that. It's set up so that sub octave is on 100%, the higher octave is off, the dry, I kind of like, one song I've got it on and the other one I've got it off, so I just switched. Tidy whitey compressor. It's just a compressor because I usually get very excited while playing, so we might sound check and the level is perfect because I put the amp to 2, so it's exactly where it breaks, and then I play during the show and I get too excited and it's just fuzzy, so I've got the compressor to keep me contained. This one is another, it's called the Clover by JHF Pedals. I think it's modeled after some preamp unit that the Edge of U2 uses, and again I think the way that I treat distortion or overdrive is that none of those are overdrive pedals, because I don't know, it never worked for me, so I think they're just ways to push the valves a little more to get that thick sound that I'm looking for, and usually like those two are always on just as the basic sound, and this one I just like put in if it needs to go hard, and yeah, and that's it. And that's like a I had a Hofner delay here, which is like $30, and it's just a very cheap slapback sounding delay, kind of like a cheap version of a MXR carbon copy, and I tried a few ones and they were all too good sounding, and then the Hofner delay that I had before, I had 2 and they both broke, and I need to get a replacement, so I ordered all those pedals and they all sounded too good. And then I ordered the bearing as well, which is like literally, it's a plastic case, you know, it's plastic housing. I think it's like $30 or something, and it's exactly what I want. It's just this like cheap sounding slapback that's kind of like acting like a overdrive as well. So kind of like when I need to go harder, I just activate it. It's kind of like a overdrive / delay slapback thing. Very cool, very cheap, very cool. I'm going to buy like 5 because I'm expecting that there's going to be a lot of pedal breakage because they're like made of plastic and look super cheap. And I usually don't support Behringer, but this one's very good. Then here we've got the Boss Arts RC500, I think, or 50 something. It's just a looper pedal. I used to have a very tiny one that was just like this size, but with our new setup, I sometimes need to do 2 loops at once, and it's very handy that it has a stop button, because usually I had to like go on this, it was just a 1 button, and it was very hard to find the right moment to kind of like click on the pedal, because then like maybe 2 seconds later it would stop the loop and delete the loop. So yeah, it's just more handy. But I use like probably 1% of all the functions of the pedal, and it's new as well. So yeah. Another thing is that we connect it to MIDI. Steph uses the same pedal for her bass, so sometimes because it's just a 3-piece and we have some more advanced arrangements, we sometimes have to kind of like cheat to make it work. So sometimes I'd be looping here and soloing over it, and then Steph loops her bass as well, and Ivo plays something on drums, and it's very hard to kind of keep 2 loops perfectly in sync for a minute. It's practically impossible. We do it if it's just 1 loop, and then the rest kind of can adjust to it. So we found a way to MIDI sync them. So for those songs, Ivo triggers a MIDI click on his SPSX that our loops are synced to, so we can loop the bass, loop the guitar, and do something over it, which is very handy. That's why we got the new loopers. Here's my amp that I actually just got today, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% happy. I usually play a Fender Supersonic and just use the clean channel. On the West Coast run, I had a silver face deluxe reverb, which is now what I know I need. I thought I want a black face, but I want a silver face. And usually I use the vintage channel. Here we've got a black face deluxe reverb, which is fine, but I think there's something about it that it doesn't sound as warm and as like valve. It sounds a little more like a twin reverb or something, a little more like Mercury-ish. Yeah, anyway, I kind of, usually I have it on 2, here I have to go to 3, more bass than treble, reverb is usually at 4, and I don't use the vibrato. So yeah, it's very basic, it's like all the things are happening, you know, in the hands here, but it's very based on dynamic playing, so I'm just at breaking point, and when I like play harder, then it goes into more distorted kind of thing. And that's kind of, I guess, why I don't like overdrive pedals, because they feel very static sometimes, or distortion pedals. And here it can like go from very clean things that I also do a little bit with the volume on the guitar to a very distorted sound. And yeah, I'll get it from Fender Instruments. So thank you for making great amps. And to be very specific now, I also have a pick preference, which is like the Dunlop Max Grip 73s, I guess. I used to have like other ones, the Tortex ones, because they're pink. They look very cool. But they don't have like that grip thing on it. And it's really important to me because I sweat a lot. And yeah, so it's kind of like soft picks. That's it. Yeah, they're great. They're cheap. That's why I use them. And actually I play with my hands a lot, with my fingers. So it's just like half of the songs I use the pick. But it's great. I keep it here in my pick holder, so I can switch during songs very quickly. Then I've got a capo as well. Nothing special about it, just a capo. Yeah, so thanks for following our rig rundown. If you want to see more or hear more, check out our new album, One More Trip Around the Sun. It just came out. Go to our website. Subscribe to a newsletter, because we're trying to get off Instagram and all those things as much as we can. And yeah, we appreciate you looking and watching, and we see you on the road.